For more on the results of the survey and the pulse of the global CEOs 1 year after the start of the pandemic, we're joined by Bob Moritz. He's chairman of PwC. Bob, welcome. Good to have you with us. Is this as bullish? These are U.S. CEOs that you queried. Is this as bullish as you've ever seen them?
It's the most bullish optimism we've ever seen before, and it's a global survey. That optimism is consistent around the world. It comes in the form of the optimism around the economy, comes in the form of optimism of their ability to raise revenue in the next 12 months, and their optimism over the next 3 years. But let's not kid ourselves. There's a big concern underneath it all, which is the fragility of that optimism, the uncertainty behind that optimism, because there are still a number of issues that CEOs are grappling with and trying to worry about.
We will get to some of those worries in just a moment, one of which is really interesting and I don't think might have shown up on prior surveys, or certainly not as high as it has this time. I was acutely interested in the idea that these CEOs see America as the #1 growth target, higher even than China, higher than some of the developing markets. Why do you think that is?
So let's go back to some facts in the history. The last 2 or 3 years, the U.S. has been #1 in terms of an investment destination. The combination of a resilient workforce, a resilient consumer, one that has rule of law, and definitely has what I'll call the code of conducts and expectations that CEOs want. They want that certainty. The gap this year, though, between the U.S. and China widened quite a bit. And it came in the form of 3 fundamental changes. First and foremost, there were concerns around China as a country. The combination of regulation, the combination of what they're doing on the technology space, the combination of fairness to trade, all those things became a question mark for organizations. The second point, you did have for the first time ever, particularly after the election, a question as to whether the U.S. would go alone or would they partner with others. So that trade flow issue becomes a little less of a heightened risk for people. So they're willing to come to the U.S. and actually go co-invest with the U.S. in that regard. And last but not least, you actually had CEOs worried about trade, so they pivoted away from China. The U.S. CEOs themselves pivoted away from China more so than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, the trade war and the pandemic leading to some of that shift. Bob, I hate to be a negative Nelly, but we do have to talk about the CEO concerns. About a third of CEOs saw cybersecurity as a concern last year. Now it's up to half. Now, this survey was taken before the Microsoft Outlook hack. What are the factors contributing to this increased concern about cybersecurity?
So you've got a couple there. You've got the fact that we just went through the biggest digitization effort in the world. Everybody's now more connected than they were before, and they're doing it in a distributed format, right? They're all from home for the most part. The reality is that puts more stress on the system in terms of the technologies they use, the data they have access to, and the threat from the bad actors to potentially attack that ecosystem that people are operating in. Second point is you do have a lot more threats. Those bad actors, you're seeing more and more of that come to life with some of the past examples. And unfortunately, it's resting in a lot of uncertainty in terms of the backdoor traps that people are setting and the attack on utilities, municipalities, and the ability to shut some things down. That's an increased risk that people are worried about. Last but not least, everybody struggled from an economic perspective early on, cutting costs. So are they truly investing at the level of the risk? And did the gap increase or decrease? The CEO survey for the first time globally took that to a really high level. And as a result, worldwide, that cyber risk ranked right behind pandemics overall.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.